Hi, Revoniers. Welcome to Revo Mini Course Lecture 2. So, for tonight, we are going to have the session about psychology of successful sales. And the agenda for tonight are first is lecture 2 will be explained by Patrick about psychology of successful sales. And also Riri will be the one who assists you in Q&A session. And after that, I will explain and remind you about assignment and a certificate for this mini course. Okay, this is the objective for the lecture 2. Are knowing your why, growth mindset, positivity and optimism, grit, also about feedback culture. Okay, so please stay tuned ya everyone. And without further ado, let's go to the session. Patrick, are you ready to start sharing to the participant tonight?
All right, great. Today I'm talking about my favorite topic. This is probably my favorite topic in general to talk about when it comes to sales. So I need to make sure to not speak too fast because when I get excited, I talk very fast and can get carried away. I was told I should not take more than a bit like 1 hour, 30 minutes max. So I will try to stay in there. I will try to stay a bit on topic. But yeah, I love this. I love this topic. Great to see you all, guys. I hope you are as excited as I am to jump into the psychology of sales. I think before I get started with it, I think the psychology of sales is very transferable into almost anything in life. A lot of great things that I have learned from working in sales that really helped me throughout everything I do. I think in the session on Monday, people were asking how I smile so much. I think I've learned a lot from that background in sales. So I hope that I can share some of this with you today and that you will enjoy the session today as well. All right, let's get started. To introduce myself very quickly again, for those of you who did not manage to join on the session on Monday, my name is Patrick. I came to Southeast Asia in 2012. I've been all over the region. I came back then to launch the ventures Lazada and Zalora. I was there for quite a while, and then I joined in B2B sales in 2016 with a company called Insider that sells marketing technology. My LinkedIn is on the site as well. Feel free to connect if we have not connected yet. And yeah, enough about me. I want to talk more about the content. We have limited time. I want to get through all of it. So let's get started. All right. Let me start with a nice quote to indicate and show the two sides of mindset management and tough things in general. One of the great quotes of Muhammad Ali is, I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. I'd like to start with this because I don't believe that anything in life comes easily. There are no shortcuts. So if you were hoping for a shortcut tonight, I must disappoint you. I have some good pointers and some hopefully useful insights, but no shortcuts. So at the end of the day, everything requires hard work. You want to achieve much, you want to grow fast, you want to get far, you will need to work hard for it, and it will not always be fun. It will not always be nice. Let me start with it. All right, the agenda for today. We're going to go into a sales psychology, and we will start off with what exactly is mindset and why it matters. We will then go through why it matters and the realities of sales and life, where to start when you want to actually manage your mind and your psychology. From there, we will go through several good mindset principles that some of you are already familiar with. I remember from some of the questions and the chat from last time, like the principle of grit from Angela Duckworth, growth mindset from Dweck, and positivity as from Seligman. And we will share those ones briefly. And then I'd like to close with some practical advice, because it's always great to have good principles and ideas, but if we don't put them into practice, there is no point in thinking about them in the first place. Yes, that's what I have in mind for today. I hope you will enjoy the journey. All right. What exactly is mindset? Mindset.com defines mindset as a collection of beliefs and thoughts. Mindsets are those collections of beliefs and thoughts that make up the mental attitude, inclination, habit, or disposition that predetermines a person's interpretations and responses to events, circumstances, and situations. Simply translated, it makes up how you feel towards the things that are happening around you, what you do when things are happening around you, and reflects on your values as a person in this beautiful world of ours. All right, why does mindset matter so much? I think some of you have probably already seen this. On the left-hand side, we have a plan. We are at point A. We want to get to point B. We have a clear goal in mind. Unfortunately, in reality, there are a lot more obstacles than we would have expected. A lot more things that, unfortunately, we will need to deal with. Reality looks different. A lot of people think that there's only win or fail. There's only success or failure. Whereas in reality, what we know is that a lot of failures, a lot of no's, a lot of attempts in the end lead to success. It's not a one-time approach and I win or I lose, but we know that we need to go through many failures, through many difficult times in order to succeed. I always like to take the example of going to the gym or doing any sports. And as you've already understood by now, sales is very similar to sports. If you go to the gym, you will not start lifting 300 kilograms and start pushing those up because you will not be able to do that yet. The same is true for any other sport. You will not, when you go for, I don't know, when you go for a race with your bicycle, you will not try to, you will not be able to beat the world record the first time you try. You would not expect that. And this is universally true for anything that we try. We should not expect to be able to do everything right away. What we do is we go to the gym. For the first time we try with the lighter weights. Today we train, tomorrow we train. The day after, maybe I don't feel like training. I try anyways. Maybe I have an unsuccessful training. That's okay, because over time I will get stronger and I will be able to lift stronger, tougher weights. So that's what I would like to start with. The reality is that life is difficult and failure is part of the journey. If we now look at sales, we see that this is very much true for sales. 80% of sales require 5 follow-up calls after the meeting. 44% of sales representatives give up after the first follow-up. I love this image on the right-hand side because it is so true. Oftentimes, people are so close to actually succeeding, but unfortunately give up before that's actually the case, before they get there, even though they had been so close. It's for those ones that are that keep pushing, that are the ones that are going to succeed, that break through the wall, that will find the treasure in this picture on the right over here. Then let me also cover some of the difficult sides of tech, because I don't believe that hiding any of this makes any sense. So tech is hard. Tech sales is hard. It's not easy. Conversion rates are low. What does it mean? How low? It means that 2 to 50%, you will face, to some extent, 2 to 50% conversion rates of people that will give you a meeting, depending on how good your skill is to engage the prospect, and depending on how qualified the prospect is, and depending on how good your skill is as a salesperson. So that means if you have a 2% conversion rate, that means you need to do 50 calls, 50 outreaches to get 1 engagement. That means 49 times no before you hear the word yes. That's not very easy to hear for anyone. The no is normal. It's expected. It's not unusual. There will be a lot of no's. And if you think about it, if you are going to If you were going to a market and you have a product that you are selling, be it water or be it food, you would not expect to be able to sell to everybody. That's normal. But it's also the truth of sales that we need to deal with. The no is expected, is normal. Second, tech sales interrupt people's day. People don't like to be interrupted. That is true. When I started my day, I was not expecting you to call me. I probably have other things that I'm doing. So by definition, when we reach out to people, we're interrupting their day. And that might be annoying for them, at least at first. If we have something of value, something interesting, our contact can become a pleasant surprise. If we do a bad outreach, our contact becomes annoying. It's up to us on how we are reaching out and how we are positioning what we do. I'm going to cover a little bit more about this later, because it's not only about what we do, but also about how the other person feels. But I will cover this later. The third hard truth is that you never get used to the no, at least from my experience. For me personally, I thought initially, okay, this is painful. I don't like it that this guy is saying no to me. I don't like it that they're not going ahead in the end and they're not buying the product from me. And I thought in the beginning, it will get easier. You know, over time, when I have heard more no's, it will be okay. Unfortunately, at least for me, I care about every interaction. So for me, whenever I hear a no from someone, I'm still not happy with it. But I know how to deal with it, and I know how to deal with that unhappiness and how to get beyond that, how to go beyond that unhappiness of the no. The thing is, I will always hear it though. Now the thing is that if you compare this to anything else in life, whatever you want to do, conversion rates will be low. You want to achieve, you want the job, you want to have that partner, you want to have fill in the blank, anything. You will not always get what you want. You will hear a lot of no's in your life. And if that gets you discouraged, you will not get where you want to be. If you stop trying, you will not get where you want to be. If you're not willing to interrupt people's day to ask for something that you need or want, again, you will not get where you want to be. So these things, to me at least, are universally true. Tech sales, life, marketing, you know, whatever it is that you do. It's not easy. It's hard. Anything worth pursuing is hard. I really like this quote from Henry Ford, legendary entrepreneur and creator. Whether you think you can do it, or whether you think you can or you can't, either way, you are right. Very much it depends on how you are approaching the situation. It very much depends on what you believe the outcome will be. Because if you look for the positive, you will see the opportunity. If you look for the negative, you will see the problems and you will not even get started. The data suggests that this is true as well. If we look at salespeople with an optimistic mindset, they outsell pessimists by 57%. 57% only by having a positive and optimistic mindset. That is crazy. There's an interesting study from the 80s, I believe, which was conducted between researchers and the insurance agency MetLife. And these guys were testing how much is optimism affecting the performance of the new hires that they are getting in. That's where this number is also from. So interestingly, the insurance company, before working with these researchers, was using an aptitude test. So it was testing things like intelligence and knowledge of the industry and how well they are connected and all these kinds of things. Then the researchers suggested, you know what? Why don't you take all of the people that have a very optimistic mindset, even though they did not pass your aptitude test? The insurance agreed for the sake of the research and for the sake of the potential upside. And what they found is exactly this: 57% outselling from these optimistic, or super optimists, as they called them in the study. You can check on this link down there. You can search, you can Google the proven predictor of sales success. I think then you should find it. 50. They were outselling the pessimistic ones that had passed this aptitude test by 57%. Outselling by 57%. So what we see is that mindset makes all the difference in sales, and according to me, in life. I'd like to finish that first section with the tale of two shoe salesmen, which I really loved, and it just perfectly explains it, I think. The tale of two shoe salesmen scoping an island and reporting back very different findings has been shared for ages. Two salesmen were sent to Africa by a British shoe manufacturer to investigate and report back on market potential. The first salesman reports, "Sorry guys, there's no potential here. Nobody's wearing shoes." The second guy goes crazy. Guys, send us all the shoes you have. Nobody's wearing shoes. This is the market. This is where we need to go. It's all about the mindset. It's all about the perspective that you are applying to the situation that you're in. In sales, we practice and we train to see the upside and to deal with the difficult and the bad in a way that we can focus on the positive. So what does a successful sales mindset look like? And what is the mindset that we are cultivating in sales? These are the different points: resilience and tenacity, resourcefulness, confident, thirsty for knowledge, systematic and efficient, optimistic and enthusiastic, competitive and adaptive. It's important to note that people are not born this way. We have certain preferences. Some of us are more competitive than others. Some of us are more confident than others based on maybe their genes, maybe how they grew up. But what research has consistently found is that these things are trained, that these things can be learned. Resilience and tenacity means that you keep going even though you are beaten down, even though that you feel that you have lost once, you keep going. Resourceful means that you are still finding ways around whatever obstacle you have to get to where you want to be. It means that if you hear a no from someone, you'd see if there's any other way that you can communicate what you're trying to communicate. You try to call them, they instantly say, "I'm not interested," and they hang up the phone. You ask yourself, maybe I can find a better way to reach them, maybe through LinkedIn. Resourcefulness means that you find different ways to achieve what you're trying to achieve. You're confident, so you give people assurance and they trust you when you talk to them. You're thirsty for knowledge. You always keep learning. You always keep improving, be it on your product, on how you are conducting yourself, how you're working. You always keep improving. You always are thirsty for knowledge. You're systematic and efficient because you can get more things done. You are optimistic and enthusiastic because you need to keep a positive mindset to project to your prospects that you will be able to help them, and to also find the energy that you need in order to keep going and to be successful. You're competitive because it excites you to achieve something, to get somewhere, and you enjoy the competition with with your colleagues or with competitors in the industry, because it makes you better, and also it allows you to win some, you lose some, the same way that you are playing football or any other sports. And you're adaptive to the situation. We were talking a lot about personality types earlier, and I mentioned this in our other session. If I talk to someone who is introvert, I should not be shouting at them. I need to give them time to think. I need to give them time to respond. I need to make sure I listen to them. Whereas if there is an extrovert and I don't talk at all, actually, maybe they will still be happy because then they can talk a lot, but usually they still enjoy a good conversation with someone who keeps up the pace. We adapt to the situation, whatever it is. Again, nobody is born this way. So people build this kind of character over time. And these are very valuable life skills, if you ask me. Having or building a character that embodies these different characteristics is something that is useful for you, whatever you do in life. That's why I also strongly believe that a career in sales overall is just very rewarding. That's also why when you see very successful salespeople, the ones that really know how to do tech sales, they're always happy. They always have a big smile on their face because they know how to deal with problems, with issues in their life, because they have cultivated this through what they do every single day. All right. So how do we cultivate this kind of mindset? Because it sounds great, right? But how do we cultivate it? And I always like to say that the how starts with the why, because you need to have a reason for why you want to put yourself through difficult times. You need to have a reason why you get up when it gets tough. If you want to be resilient, why am I resilient? What am I resilient for? So let's go through some of this. There is this great analogy that some of you have surely heard of or read, and please bear with me and go through it again. I think it has been featured in 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, highly effective people, sorry. Anyways, so the story is that there are three people that are building a wall. They're putting brick on brick over there at the side of the street. And the person comes along and asks them, oh, look, what are you doing here? And the first one is saying, oh, I'm building a wall. Okay. He's going to the next person, is asking, oh, what are you doing over here? We're building a church. Okay. And then he goes to the third person and asks, hey, what are you doing? I'm building the house of God. The point is that all 3 of them are doing the very same thing. There's no difference whatsoever in the task that they are doing, but the meaning that they are attaching to the task is vastly different. For the first one, it's a simple task of putting together brick after brick to build a wall. The second one sees that he's building a house, something that is bigger, something that is maybe a bit more admirable, maybe more interesting for him. The third one is highly motivated because he is, in this case, someone who is very religious and believes in God, and is building the house of God. So for him, he's doing the service to the belief that he has subscribed to. As you can imagine, that last person is much more inspired and much happier doing what he does. Now, if there would be any adversity, let's say, for example, it rains, let's say, I don't know, let's say it's getting cold, whatever it is. Who do you think is the one who's more likely to continue building the wall? The first one who just says, I'm building a wall, or the third one who's building a house to his God? So in the beginning, what's really important is for yourself to understand, why am I doing what I'm doing? So going from and this is something that probably a lot of some of you have seen, which is it's the Golden Circle by Simon Sinek. He also wrote a book about this. But it's the Golden Circle of going from why to what. Why am I doing something? In the previous example, I'm building the house of. I'm trying to build the house of God. I want to honor, and I want to honor my God. That's why I'm doing it. How am I doing it? I'm building a church. And what are you doing? I'm building a wall. And that is the kind of motivation that we need to find for ourselves. Because when you have that idea of why you are doing what you do, that's exactly when you will find a lot of extra energy to do what it is that you're trying to achieve. So the way that you can think about it is that every little single thing that you do on a daily basis is linked to some greater goal, which again is linked to a greater goal, which again is linked to a greater goal. And we could continue this for a while. So the way that you can think about it is, for example, I'm doing a cold call, or am I helping to build the next unicorn of Indonesia? Am I building the next billion-dollar company of Indonesia? Or am I doing a cold call? Am I working for a salary, or am I growing and building a career for my long-term success, to look after my family, to help support my wife, my kids, my parents? What am I working for? The clearer you are on this, the easier it is going to be for you to keep going when it gets tough. The question is to yourself, are you becoming a better you? Are you becoming a better version of you? Is the tomorrow you better, and has the tomorrow's you achieved more than what you have yesterday? Are you constantly getting better? And better does not necessarily mean higher salary or working harder, but it can also be, am I more grateful? Am I more generous? Am I better in whichever way it is? That's what we in tech sales believe in, that we continuously grow ourselves, that we get better, at least the successful ones. That's the kind of psychology that I personally believe in. All right, so once we know why we are doing what we do, and I cannot tell you what the why for you guys need to be, by the way. That's something that you need to know yourself. When I was younger, I was excited about growth. I was excited about technology. I was excited about learning and having an impact and learning anything I can, actually. So that excited me a lot. And that's why I jumped into technology. That's why I jumped into startups and all these kind of things. I just wanted to grow and learn. Now, later in life, you have maybe different priorities. Maybe it's more about, maybe you want to, now it's time to start the family. Now it's time to, I don't know, maybe you want to pick up an instrument. I don't know. But this is a very personal thing that you need to figure out for yourself. If you want to cultivate the character traits that I shared earlier, sales can be a way for you to develop those. That's what I'm saying. If what you want to achieve in life is aligned with these character traits, then tech sales can be interesting and right for you, because this is what you will learn. These are the kind of traits that you will develop. All right, let's get into mindset concepts that we use in tech sales, and also just generally, I think, in the technology industry, I would say, or maybe also even beyond. I just find these quite useful and hopefully interesting for you as well. The three concepts I want to talk about today are grit, the growth mindset, and optimism, as mentioned earlier. So I think some of you are already familiar with at least one of them, maybe not exactly in the same way as I will cover them today, but probably to some extent familiar. If not, I hope that I will cover these topics sufficiently for you today as well. Let's go through it. Starting with grit. Grit is the combination of persistence and passion. Grit is what makes you go, that makes you keep going. Grit is what helps you to get up when you have been beaten down. And it's two things. It's passion on the one side, because you care so much about the outcome and what you are working for. And persistence is the character trait of going at it because you simply don't want to fail, because you have set it in your mind that you will do this, so you will keep going at it. And one of the nice things that I liked from the book of Angela Duckworth, Grit, is this statement, that is that effort plus talent equals skill, right? So if I have a talent, be it for football or tennis or whatever it is, and I put effort into it, I keep doing it, I train, then I will develop a skill. I will get better. The other thing is that skill and effort equals achievement. So let's say I have practiced a lot. I have practiced football. I've practiced my sales skills. I have practiced my tennis. And now I'm competing. So I'm going for a tournament with my team. And I put my skill to work, and I put effort into this. I put effort into this into this tournament. That leads to achievement, right? So the very important thing here is that effort counts twice. So it's twice as important as talent, and it is more important than skill. Because if you are ready to put in the effort, you will get to achievement. You will achieve more than anyone who is talented, who is skilled. I think if you have not watched the TED Talk of Angela Duckworth yet, check it out. She covers that in a bit more length. But yeah, effort counts twice. Don't forget. All right. What is grit? Let's get into it a little bit more. Grit is passion and perseverance for long-term goals. One way to think about grit is to consider what grit isn't. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not how much you want something in a particular moment. It's about having something that researchers call an ultimate concern. It's when you care so much about the outcome that you will do anything in order to achieve it. Grit is to keep holding on to that goal, which is why it's so important that you have a clear goal for yourself and where you want to go. So that even when you fall down, when things are difficult, when things get problematic, you just get up and you keep going at it. Talent and luck are relevant for success, but not nearly as much as grit, because grit is what's going to give you the perseverance in the long term. Maybe you're lucky, maybe you're not. Luck will eventually come for you. It will eventually favor you if you just keep going at it. How to cultivate grip? You need to cultivate your interest. I think there's this wrong notion that people believe that I should try something and then I love it and then this is my destiny. I don't believe that this is the case. I think people need to cultivate excitement and interest for what they care about. I think it's not so much about doing what you love. I think it's much more about loving what you do or learning to love what you do, which is the case, for example, for me in sales. As I said, it's never nice to hear a no, and I will never love hearing the no. But I love everything around it. I love everything around the sales process. I love meeting the people. I love having the tough conversations. I love finding that value proposition and that configuration that makes it worthwhile for the customer. That was not the case in the very beginning when I started. I think people need to cultivate an interest. Things in the beginning are never easy. So people need to look at the interest, then practice hard, practice hard, because then they will get better. They will see some success there, and then it starts to become a bit more self-reinforcing. You should be able to connect it to a higher purpose, something that you care about personally, and make sure that you learn that hope, learn to hope and continue when all seems lost. So knowing that it's okay to fall, knowing it's okay to maybe not succeed the first, second, third, fourth, or even 10th time. That's grit. So I think most people are probably somewhat familiar with it. Let's look at some examples of what grit looks like to make it a bit more tangible. So grit is when you are in your first year on a wrestling team and you are learning about the sport. Every time you attend a duel or a tournament, you lose your matches. Rather than to quit, you return to the practice, you drill, and you go to the next duel or tournament until you win. Another example is that you have always had an interest in learning a martial art, but you're already 40 plus years old, and your body is not flexible. Other students are faster, stronger, and more flexible than you. You never miss training sessions, practice the techniques, and learn to adapt them to your body, while also increasing stamina, speed, and accuracy. After several months, you earn your first rank towards a black belt. You have simply outlasted others. You have tried harder than others, and you're willing to put in the hours and the effort to get to the goal that you want to get to. In sales, it's very similar. Simple example is like you received only no's when you're reaching out to new potential customers and you are still far from your targets. Rather than getting upset, you ask your manager, your colleagues, your network for new suggestions and look for new ways to improve your outreach strategy. You increase the number of calls you make tomorrow, and you try out a new template, and you know that you will force that yes, the one that you're looking for. That is what grit is. Grit is the belief that you know there's going to be something else. That if you keep going at it, you will succeed eventually. It's very important because in tech sales, this will be the case. Not everything will always be great. And that's okay. The second concept I want to talk about today is growth mindset. Growth mindset is also a fairly recent research studies by, I forgot her first name, Professor Dweck from Stanford University, if I'm not mistaken. I forgot the first name just now, sorry. It's fixed mindset versus growth mindset. Let's have a look at what this means. A growth mindset allows you to improve and to get better. A growth mindset sees yourself not as something that I'm just a product of my environment, I'm not just a product of my genes or whatever it is. It means that I believe that I can improve, that I can get better. Very common statements for a growth mindset are that failure is an opportunity to grow. I don't fail, I have just learned a lesson. Challenges help me grow. My effort and attitude determine my abilities. Feedback is constructive. I like to try new things. It's all about understanding that who we are today is not who we are tomorrow, and not who we're going to be the day after. We can continuously learn and improve ourselves. A fixed mindset, on the other hand, is a mindset where we believe that everything is set in stone. It's when people say, I'm not good at math. It's when people say, I'm not good with people. It's when people say, failure is the limit of my abilities. I could not succeed because I simply haven't been born this way. Growth mindset has been shown to be a very significant predictor of grit and a very significant predictor of success in terms of career, in terms of actually anything that has been measured with it, I think. So growth mindset is the idea that you can grow yourself, that nothing like even intelligence or emotional understanding is fixed. It allows you to practice, to learn, to get better. Whereas a fixed mindset is a very helpless kind of mindset where you believe that's just what it is. It's more of a victim mindset where what happens happens. There's nothing I can do about it. Some typical things that we would tell ourselves and beliefs that we hold when we have a growth mindset that I hope a lot of you already have. If not, maybe you can tell yourself a little bit more about it. I can always improve. We focus on input, not on the output. What can I learn from here? Like if I failed, what is it that I can learn from here? How can I improve? How can I do better next time? It's okay that I didn't do great this time, but what can I do better next time? I know that I cannot change the past, I cannot change the present, but I can change the future. Maybe I'm not good yet. Remind yourself of your progress. Feedback is welcome and helps me grow. I think especially like the last two parts are quite instructive, where if you think of the progress that you have made over the past 3, 6, 12 months as a person in your skills, we often just think about the most recent failures. When we fail today, we think, oh no, I failed today. But we forget to think about, oh wait, where was I 6 months ago? What did I know 6 months ago? What did I do 6 months ago? And then often we can see, oh wow, there's a very significant progress here for me. I've actually learned a lot more and I've become much better. So probably 6 months from now, again, I will have made much more progress. So if I fail today, that's okay, because I will progress a lot in the next 6 months again. And feedback is, for me personally, feedback is a very big topic, and I could probably hold a whole separate session on this, just on feedback alone. And I believe there's going to be a dedicated session on this in the introduction course of the curriculum. Feedback, I always say, I mean, not me, this is not from me, but feedback is a gift. If somebody gives you the gift of feedback, it is your responsibility to take it and to thank them for it, because they could also just keep it to themselves. Feedback is for you an opportunity to learn and to get better. If you choose not to take the feedback, fine. you're still the same as before. But hearing feedback has never made anyone worse. It only gives you the opportunity to get better and to grow. So hence also, if there's any feedback that you would like to share with me later, I'd be more than happy to hear it, especially if it's constructive, especially if I can learn how to improve from you guys. All right. Growth mindset. That's what the growth mindset is all about. At the end of the day, nothing is fixed. You can improve, you can get beyond. And this is proven in the research. It's not something that we are just making up and we would like to believe in it. People that have a growth mindset are able to improve significantly in terms of almost any. I mean, we will not be able to grow. We will not. If you're just 150, you will not be able to, like grow to like a 2 meter and become an NBA player. Probably not. But most things you can apply a growth mindset and improve it. Anything I'm talking about today, the growth mindset 100% applies. These are some of the statements that maybe I want to spend just a little bit of time on so that we can see if some of them maybe are applying to you. For me, to be very honest, when I was younger, I had a pretty strong fixed mindset. So my tendency back in the days was to believe that I'm either good or bad at something. I failed, because I'm simply not good at it. I never said, oh yeah, I just need to train harder. Only later on in my life, because I was lucky to have some experiences where I worked very hard and got the results from there, I realized that, hey, actually, if you put in the work, you will see the results eventually. So some of the bad things that we often tell ourselves are things like, I'm not good at this. What we should be saying instead is, hey, what am I missing? On the flip side also, we might be saying, I'm awesome at this. What we should asking ourselves instead is like, hey, what else can I do? We should also tell ourselves, I'm on the right track, but I'm not there yet. We should remind ourselves that our success is the product of hard work. I won the tournament not because I'm great. I won the tournament because I practiced really hard. Instead of saying I give up, I'll use some of the strategies we've learned to win next time. Instead of saying this is too hard, I would say this may take some time and effort. Instead of saying I can't make it any better, I'm going to say I can always improve, so I'll keep trying. I'm sure by now you've read through the other ones yourself. There's this one piece of research I think I just briefly want to share, and I think you can Google the paper as well. I should have put it here. I'm sorry for this, but there's this very interesting study where they were taking a group of gifted Chinese girls, and they were giving them a math test. So they gave them all a math test, like a test in mathematics. And afterwards, they looked at all of the results of the girls and had a baseline to understand what is their average knowledge and how good are they at math. They then put them into two different groups, which had the same average grade. And what then happened was very interesting. They told one group that the next test that they are taking has been designed, or has been shown to be specifically difficult for girls, and that boys usually score better on this test than girls. The other group has been told that this specific test, Asians do better than Caucasians. So one group was told, because of who you are, you will be bad at this. And the other group has been told, because of who you are, you will be better at this. And the group that was told that, hey, because you're Asian, you're going to do better, significantly outperformed the group that was told, you're not going to be good at this. And you can try this for yourself. The next time when you feel like, when you do something that you feel, I'm not very good at this, just force yourself to tell you know what, I'm good at this. I can do this. Let me try this. Let's really see what is the best I can do here. And you will see an incredible improvement in performance. Trust me. All right. That is the idea of the growth mindset. Also a very, very dominant recent model of psychology that has been used in many, many places and has been shown to be good for your mental health, as well as for overall success. So I very much encourage everybody to move more towards a growth mindset if you feel that you have more of a fixed mindset at the moment. All right. Let me talk about the last concept for today before we get into practical applications, which is optimism. How to keep that big smile of yours even when everything around you looks difficult or people around you are sad. All right, optimism, they are interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, everybody has heard about optimism. It's when you remain optimistic, positive, whenever there's adversity, when there are difficult situations. Optimism is nothing new. It's not a new concept. I don't think anybody here has never heard of optimism before. But what I wanted to do today is to dive a little bit deeper into optimism. What exactly makes up optimism? What exactly makes up pessimism? And there has been a lot of interesting research on this as well. And interestingly as well, optimism, as I mentioned earlier, has been linked to superior sales performance, right? So this is from the same piece of research, Seligman, Seligmann, in case you ever want to Google it and read it yourself. There's a great book called Learned Optimism that I very much recommend. But basically, there are different ways of how we can decode optimism and pessimism a bit more. The first one is based on whether or not you believe that that a certain state of mind is permanent or not. Let's say, for example, you believe that something bad is happening to you, or when something bad is happening to you, you believe that this will last forever. Oh yeah, God, this is terrible and it's awful and this is just me. I'm just an unlucky person. I'm simply not good at this. This is a kind of a mindset. If you believe that the state is permanent, you will unfortunately be more pessimistic and you will be less happy with it as well. Optimists, on the other hand, believe that things are, or that negative states and negative events are temporary. So you would believe that, you know, maybe I failed today, but that's okay. I can try again. I will practice more. I will learn more. It will get better. The second dimension is pervasiveness. Pervasiveness basically means that whether you believe that something is happening only in this specific, only applies to this specific realm of what you do, or does it relate to everything around it? An example would be if you tell yourself, I lost because I'm bad at sports. Or if you tell yourself instead, I lost because I'm bad at tennis. The first example is the example where you believe that you are universally bad at something in the category of sports. The more specific you are narrowing down your the reason for your failure, the less pessimistic you will be. And the last dimension I want to share is whether you see something as personal or not personal. If you see something as everything is my fault, everything is my fault, anything bad happens, you know, it's raining, oh no, that's my fault. I should have anticipated this. This is terrible. So the other one is, of course, if you believe that something is not your fault, you will be able to remain optimistic because, you know, okay, that's not my fault. It's not because of me. It's because of other reasons. It allows you to remain hopeful for the future that next time things will be better. The interesting thing now is that that you can flip this whole thing around. So when I, for example, say that something good is happening to me, if I now believe that after something good happens to me, that this is fully because of me, because I'm simply very good, smart, talented, anything like this, if I believe there's a permanent reason for something good happening to me, that will make me more optimistic. Because now I believe that I can repeat this in the future. I won this tournament because I'm awesome. So I will win all the other tournaments as well. So my point that I want to share here is, the main point I want to share is that when you are facing especially a negative turn of events, what you can do is you can ask yourself, is this permanent? Is this really pervasive and universal, or is this something that is specific to this situation? Is it specific to this area? For example, if I play basketball, I'm fairly tall. So that is something that is going to be permanent. So I will always be tall. So I can be optimistic about being able to, unfortunately, I'm not very good at basketball, so that's not the best example, actually. I'm not very good at it yet. I haven't practiced it much. I never really enjoyed it playing too much, so I never practiced much. I'm not very good at it yet, but I will always be tall. So what I'm saying is that I can focus on these dimensions. Is it really me or not? Is it something that is going to be there forever, or is it temporary? And also, is this specific to this situation only, or is it something that is really pervasive, meaning affecting everything around it? Am I bad at work, or am I bad at, let's say, I'm not good yet at creating Excel spreadsheets? So this is something very good for yourself to keep in mind, so that you can help yourself be more optimistic and try to look for an optimistic explanation rather than a pessimistic one. The last dimension is whether something is controllable or not controllable. These things are quite clear, and I'm not going to cover this in more detail today. All right. Some readings that I can very much recommend. Carol Dweck, that was her name. Sorry, yes. Angela Duckworth, Grit, William Irvine, who writes about modern Stoicism. The Stoic Challenge is a nice and easy to read book, I think, that is quite nice. Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People has a great part on finding your why and understanding why you do what you want. And Carol Dweck has a great book on growth mindset. And I should have added here the Learned Optimism from Martin Seligman, which is nice on optimism altogether. Yeah, all books I very much recommend that go much deeper into the first 2 parts of the presentation today, which is, first of all, understanding your why, understanding what it is that why you're fighting for and what you're fighting for. And the second part was about some of the key concepts that I hope are useful for you guys to develop a healthy mindset and to develop a gritty and optimistic growth mindset. All right. Okay. So all of this is great in terms of, the ideas are interesting, and I'm pretty sure that most people would not disagree with most of the things I said today, because, I didn't come up with them. That's just research and philosophies and great ideas that much smarter people have come up with already. But the question is always, how do we put this into practice? So that sounds nice, sounds good, but Patrick, I still go through my day and I don't have a growth mindset. I'm very pessimistic and I have no grit whatsoever. I hope that's not the case. But, at the end of the day, you can develop that. That's okay. Be it for tech sales or in any other context. You were not born a champion. Nobody was. All right. So practical applications I want to share with you today are threefold. There are 3 different types of practical applications I want to share with you today that are relating to what I shared earlier. The first one is the concept of self-talk. The second is the ABCDE model of cognitive behavioral theory, so from the psychology area. And the last one I want to share with you is about performance triggers. So let's start with self-talk. Self-talk is this little voice in your head that always talks to you, the one that comments on everything that you do, the one that you cannot shut up even if you wanted to. It's a voice that tells you that when you have succeeded, that might tell you, hey, yeah, that's awesome, great, I did well. Or it might also tell you, well, this was lucky, you're not going to be able to do that again. And from a personal story, I can share that I have naturally, unfortunately, for whatever reasons in the past, I had quite a bit of destructive, negative self-talk. The kind of self-talk that would be cursing when I'm failing, that the kind of self-talk that would give me the kind of, oh, you failed, you stupid, this kind of self-talk, which is really, really unhealthy. What we can do is we can cultivate positive self-talk. We can cultivate a self-talk that is helping us to develop growth mindset, grit, and optimism. So let's have a look at it in a bit more detail. How can we improve our own self-talk? The first and the most important part to being able to change and control your self-talk is to recognize it. So you need to be able to listen to your self-talk. You got to be aware of it. For me, that works very well when I, let's say, do sports, when I deliver something, I do any type of task. I constantly talk to myself one way or another. So being able to recognize that, hey, wait, what is the story I'm telling myself right now, is the first very important step. The second step is to record your self-talk. So writing it down. And this is where most people fail. So I would very much really, really, really encourage you to just try this out for a weekend. The self-talk that you hear yourself when you do sports, anything, when you are just doing the dishes, when you are dropping something, when you're succeeding at something, when you're making a mistake, write it down. What is the self-talk that you have? Because this is the voice that you constantly hear. That's the voice that you constantly hear in your mind that will tell you who you are, what you do, and what you're good at and what you're not good at. Once you write it down, you can get an idea of what the self-talk is. And once you have it written out, you can also evaluate, is this something that I want to tell myself? Is this something that I would talk to? Is this something I would say to a friend? Is this something that I would want my friend to talk to me like? So record it, write it down. Once you've recorded it, you can then revise it. And this is a very important or useful concept in tech sales. You can revise what you have what you have written down for yourself to make it more positive, to make it more gritty, to make it more to put it more in line with the growth mindset. And that allows you then to change your self-talk over time, because once you have identified my original self-talk and you combine this with the revised self-talk, the new narrative that you are creating for yourself, the next time that you hear this voice in your head saying this original self-talk, you will instantly think, ah, wait, actually, no, I'm going to decide I'm going to tell myself this story instead. So revising your self-talk allows you to then to constantly repeat, like a habit, that new version of the self-talk that is going to be more in line with the mindset that you want to cultivate, with the mindset that you know is going to help you achieve what you want to achieve, that you need to succeed. It could be something, if we go through a simple example, it could be something where in the morning when you wake up and maybe you're having a down day, maybe you are tired, you're lazy, and you feel like, I'm just going to turn around and sleep for another hour and I'll just start work or studying later. But if you identify this as a self-talk for yourself that is not good for you, because you know, I want to get up, I want to study, I want to work, even though I don't feel like it, you can write this down for yourself. And the next time you wake up in the morning, oh wait, there is this voice in my head that is telling me to be lazy and to relax. No, I'm going to develop that discipline. I'm going to get up now and I'm going to study, work, help my parents, whatever it is. So recognize, record, revise, repeat. And this is something really I cannot stress enough, guys, be it for tech sales or anywhere. We're going to an example of tech sales in a bit, but this is something you can use for whatever you do in life. This can be useful for you in any case, but you need to do it. You need to write it down. Oftentimes people, yeah, that sounds like a nice idea, but they never get to do the next step, which is to actually do it. Just record it, try it out. So I always suggest do it for a day, 2 days, a week. Set yourself an experiment time, execute it, and see if it helps you or not. All right. Last point on self-talk is this nice quote from Muhammad Ali again. It's a repetition of affirmations that leads to belief. And once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. It's not the case necessarily that that first time that you are telling this revised self-talk to yourself is instantly going to have this effect. Yes, okay, now I believe this and I'm a changed person. That's unfortunately not how we work. But if you constantly repeat it to yourself and you act accordingly, it will become a belief for you. It will become your replaced self-talk. There is this great saying of, rather than thinking your way into acting, you can act your way into thinking. If you continuously repeat the right self-talk, the right actions, that will become who you are. And that is a very powerful way of managing your mindset. All right, let's have a look at the more at the scholar perspective from the psychology side. How do we manage our psychology? How do we manage our mind? Let's have a look at behavioral cognitive theory. And what we're going to look at is the ABCDE model of managing your mind. This is the most commonly used, or one of the most successful models that is being used for people with mental health issues and addiction and many other things to help you to manage your mind. ABCDE stands for adversity, belief, consequence, dispute, effective belief, and that's it. ABCDE. Let's go through what this means in a bit more detail. So what it means is that as a person, you might be faced with an adversity, a situation that you don't like. Let's say this is, we're going to do a sales example in a bit. So let's say you have failed your exam. You have failed your exam at school. That leads to the belief, or the irrational belief, that, let's say, unfortunately, I'm stupid. I'm not good for anything. I will never be able to graduate. I'm a failure. The emotional and behavioral consequence from here is that I'm going to stop studying. I'm going to stop trying. I will feel depressed and sad, and I will not be able to really get myself up anymore to do anything that would allow me to achieve my goals in my career and as a person. So now, looking at this ABC model, what we do next is, instead of leaving it where we are, we're going to dispute this irrational belief. We're going to have a look at how can we actually change this irrational belief by objectively looking at this irrational belief and see how we can challenge it. Let's say in this case, you know what? Actually, like 50% of the class has failed in this exam, and I was quite tired when the exam happened. I have not studied as hard as I usually do. I was up the night before because I had issues with my partner, maybe. I don't know. There were a lot of reasons for me not to do very well on this exam. It's not that I'm stupid. It's not that I cannot do it. But in this situation, it was not really, I was not set up for success. But in the end, there's going to be a retake for this exam, so I can study harder. I can make sure that I this time do a really good job, and then I can pass the exam. I've actually passed a lot of the other exams, and usually I do pretty well in school, so I should actually be okay. So maybe what I was thinking, believing before is not necessarily the right thing to think. And that leads us to E, which is the new effective rational belief. So that allows us to then say, okay, all right, you know, I'm actually okay. I will be fine. I will study harder. It's going to be okay. So rather than ending up at an emotional state where I'm in despair, I'm sad, I feel depressed, and I'm not going to do anything anymore, we have reframed the world for ourselves so that now we can continue going at it, fighting hard, and study harder and succeed in school. It's a very straightforward and simple model, A, B, C, D, E, very easy to apply. Let's have a look at the sales world. Adversity. I called to follow up on a prospect and they cut me off and told me to get lost. Not very nice. Belief. I chose the wrong time to call the prospect and my elevator pitch sucks. Consequence, I feel terrible. I'm not made for this. I will never succeed in tech sales. And that's something that probably at some point you will think, because everybody goes through this at some point, because it's tough, but it's okay. So what we then do is we dispute. Actually, is this the right conclusion? The prospect did not let me speak, cut me off, and was rude. She was probably in a bad mood. Who knows what is going on in her life? It might be a terrible day for her. Thinking about it, chances are this really has nothing to do with me. If I check my numbers, I'm actually improving in terms of my success rate, and my supervisor gave me encouraging feedback yesterday. I'm getting better. I will keep in mind not to jump to conclusions and judge myself. It's a numbers game, and some people simply will not be interested. Let's keep going, and I will get to that yes. I know it always comes eventually. Maybe I can try a soft introduction next time to make sure that the other person is receptive to my inquiry rather than just starting off with my pitch right away. The effective belief after successfully disputing that first belief that I had is, I'm now happy that I'm improving. I'm obviously not perfect. Nobody is. I have made progress, and I'm very happy about that. I'll take this as an opportunity to practice overcoming difficulties and use it to grow. The difference is now, whereas you were angry and probably did not want to pick up the phone again to make the next call, the way that you look at it now, you can look at it with a smile and you can continue. And you will feel better, you'll feel nicer, and you will also improve, because now you are looking at what else can I do better. So if we look at this dispute in a bit more detail, like these are some of the things that you can use. Number one, review the situation from an objective point of view and give the benefit of a doubt. If you feel that you cannot really do this, maybe ask a friend. Ask a friend to tell you, you know what, this is the situation. This is how I'm seeing it. What do you think? Second, apply growth mindset. How do I learn from here? How do I grow from this? No is expected. It's a numbers game in sales. You will not be able to sell to everyone. That's impossible. If you get a no, that's a no. That's okay. It's one no closer to the yes. Encourage a positive mindset for yourself. Make sure that you are focusing on the positive and that you remain positive with the next steps going forward. Last but not least, be gentle with yourself. It's very easy to be tough on yourself and to be unconstructively tough on yourself. I'm not saying you should always be easy on yourself, but don't be too hard on yourself. So let's have a look at the previous example I gave in the with those points in mind, right? So we start off by using an objective point of view and giving the benefit of a doubt, right? So actually, is this the right conclusion? The prospect did not let me speak, cut me off, and was rude. This is the case. She probably was in a bad mood, probably because she didn't really talk to us in the first place and just started cutting us off. And who knows what's going on in her life? It might be a terrible day for her, giving her the benefit of a doubt. Most likely that's the case. Who knows? Maybe she just found out that she's going to get fired or that there's some other issues at the company and we just got her in a bad moment. Thinking about it, chances are this really has nothing to do with me. If I check my numbers, reminding ourselves that it's a numbers game, I'm actually improving in terms of my success rate, and my supervisor gave me encouraging feedback yesterday. I'm getting better. This is a more objective look at the situation, and that would allow me to also review how I feel about myself. I should be gentle to myself. I will keep in mind not to jump to conclusion and judge myself, as I just did. My first impression was, I'm not good. I'm never going to be good. Oh my God, I'm not for tech sales. Like, back off, relax, be gentle to yourself. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't judge yourself. Numbers game. It's a numbers game, and some people will simply not be interested. Growth mindset. Maybe if I try a soft introduction, I can better handle people who are in a bad mood, which is really the case. If you jump on a call and you just start right away with your elevator pitch. Hello, this is Patrick from Insider, and I would like to talk to you about my marketing technology. It's the best technology. Everybody's using it. It can definitely help you. Super annoying, right? So a softer introduction. Hey, hello, this is Patrick. How are you doing today? Do you have a minute? Much easier for the person to say, I don't have a minute. I'm very busy right now. I'm sorry. I did not mean to interrupt you, of course. When would be a better time to reach you? So if I try a different approach, and if I continuously apply a growth mindset, I will come up with different ways of how I can improve. I can also ask colleagues or other people around me to help me come up with better ideas or to give me feedback. Lastly, remaining in a positive mindset. Let's keep going. I will get to that. Yes, I know it always comes. It's going to be fine. This is how we can use the model of the ABCDE to challenge status quo. The way that we would use this in sales is that we would write these out for ourselves. We would make sure that when we are doing cold calls, when we are doing reach outs, when we are having meetings, when we're doing negotiations, whatever it is, we would make sure that we have these written out for ourselves so that we know, all right, it's going to get tough. I'm going to get a no. So I'm going to make sure that I maintain my objective point of view. I remind myself it's a numbers game. I'm going to be gentle to myself. I'm going to apply the growth mindset, and I'm going to maintain a positive mindset. If we do this, whenever we face any kind of adversity, it allows us to fix it. It allows us to get back in the game right away. All right. The last thing I want to talk about today are performance triggers. Performance triggers are a very interesting way of how our brain works, I think. Performance triggers allow us to put ourselves in a good state of mind quite quickly. So let me explain to you what I mean. When you are looking to succeed at something, you should plan, you should prepare, and then you can perform. And planning for many people often means to, oh, I'm just going to make sure that I have the right equipment with me. Maybe I make a plan on what I'm going to say to them. I'm going to make a plan for the value that I want to highlight. I'll make a plan to be prepared for any kind of potential issues that they might see with the product. How do I address questions on integration of the technology and so on? All of this is great for planning, and all of this is part of preparation. But there's also a part where you can prepare your mindset for the meeting as well. So it's good for yourself to learn what is it that gets you and your brain into the right mood. What gets you into a performance mindset? And there are certain things that you can do. There is one of our sales guys in Malaysia, for example. He likes to run the last 50 meters to the meeting because it gets his blood flowing, and that puts him into a good, positive mood for the meeting. So sports could be something that you do. Some people like to do a few push-ups before a presentation. Not for me. As you can see, I'm not that big, but some people like to do this. Music, I love that. I'm a big lover of music before performance. Before we have big presentations for big enterprise contracts and deals, the 10 minutes before the meeting, you will see me with my headphones, very loud music that gives me energy and that excites me to get me into the mood for the meeting. Some people like to eat or drink something specifically before they are going out for performance. Some people like to visualize. I am also a big fan of this, especially in sports. People do this a lot. But in sales, it means you are visualizing how the meeting is going to go, how are you going to go through the different slides, how are you going to present. All of this is going to help you to be more successful in the meeting. Listening to music that gives you energy. Actually, I covered this already. And solidify routines and rituals. So routines and rituals can be anything, actually. So come up with those ones for yourself. We have, this is probably my favorite. We have one guy in the company who shaves every time before he goes into a meeting. I don't really know why, but when he goes to a meeting, he has his electric shaver and he shaves 5 minutes before the meeting because it puts him into the right mood. And these are performance triggers. I kid you not. It's amazing. If you find your routine that gets you into this go mindset, it can be so powerful. And this can be through visual cues. It can be through actually through taste, through hearing, through shaving. It can be anything. It can get you into this mode right away. And I'm just checking the time. I have enough time for this. Yes, there is one very exciting, interesting story that I will share, which is about a very interesting person. His name is Josh Waitskin. He is a former national chess grandmaster in the US, and he is also a world champion in Tai Chi. So he actually focuses on high performance training and learning. So he wrote a book, The Art of Learning, which is a great book. I can very much recommend it. And I recently heard an interesting story from him. He worked a lot on these performance triggers. So he would work in a way that he would prepare his mind, get ready for his fights when he was competing in Tai Chi push hands. And when he was in this right mindset, he would then listen to the song Lose Yourself from Eminem. And that helped him later on, whenever he had to get ready for a fight quickly, rather than preparing himself mentally and meditating and all these things, he just could switch on the song Lose Yourself, and instantly he was in a fight mode. And that helped him to compete in tournaments in Taiwan, where it was not very clear when he would have to fight. So the fun story, or the fun part of the story now, is that the trigger was so strongly developed that when he was sitting on the couch at home with his wife and kids, he was watching TV and the song Lose Yourself from Eminem came up, so that he got all worked up and ready to fight with his with his family on the couch. So that he had to get up, get out of the house, and run around the house a few times to just calm himself down again. I'm sharing this story to tell you how strong these kinds of triggers can be for yourself. So you can really create those for yourself by getting yourself into the right mindset and then connecting it to something, be it doing push-ups, eating something, shaving your face, listening to music, whatever it is. It can be very powerful. The last thing that I want to mention is preemptive self-talk and reminders. So I'm going to dive deeper in those actually on the next slide. Preemptive self-talk is basically the way you speak to yourself and also the mindset that you create for yourself before you get to any kind of work or activity or performance. What it is that you tell yourself before you get started and remind yourself before you get started of certain things. So the way you do it is you write down the self-talk that you think will be useful for you to have in your mind when you are in the meeting, when you are doing the calls, when you are doing the reach out. And then you read it just before you get started. This is the easiest way and the simplest way of using performance triggers. Examples are something like this, that if you do it before the call as a salesperson, you remind yourself, I am here to help. I'm looking forward to learning about this business. I am a consultant. I advise to the best of my ability. I have something they need. I need to make them see it. Let me see if what I have is useful for them. If you go to the call with this mindset as a sales development representative, you will focus very organically on what is important for them. You will focus on the what's in it for me, for them. There is something that we call buyer's breath in sales. It's when somebody is selling to you and you know they just want to sell to you. They don't care about whether there's any value for you, if there's anything interesting for you. They just want to sell. And sometimes time can get tough in sales. Maybe you are behind your target. And when you are behind your target, maybe you feel the pressure. And when you feel the pressure, maybe you focus not on the customer anymore. But the moment you do this, you will not be able to sell anything anymore. So it's always very important to remind yourself, I'm here to help. I'm here to see how I can be useful for them. Let's see how I can make them see that I have what they need. And after the call, what you can also tell yourself is, 1 no down, 9 to go. If you know that on average, it takes you 10 calls to get 1 yes, then if you get 1 no, it means great. Now I have only 9 more no's to go until I will get a yes. Ask yourself, what can I do better here? Ask yourself, nothing, next. So there's also this bad habit sometimes that people are overthinking after an event, after a call. What did I do wrong? Oh no, what can I change? Let me think. Sometimes the best thing to do is just shut up, next, continue, next thing will be better. If you write these ones down for yourself preemptively, it allows you to guide your mindset throughout the call. And if you have the right mindset, you will make the sale. If you have the right mindset, you will be able to continue. And it's very easy. For whatever you try to do, just write it down. Even for your next, be it for your next sports event, for your football event, next time when you are expecting to have a difficult conversation with your parents or your partner, write down, I'm here to listen to them when you are having a difficult conversation. If you are getting ready for sports, I will pass the ball more often, or I will pass the ball less. I will shoot more, I will shoot less. You can use this to really affect how you will be thinking throughout the game, which is going to heavily affect your performance and your learning and your growth. All right. In summary for today, guys. So number 1, know your why. Keep the eyes on the ball. You're doing today's tough job to get where you want to be. It's never going to be easy, and that's okay, because at the end of the day, you're trying to go somewhere, you're trying to achieve something. Second, develop good mental models. Keep your self-talk in check. Are you cultivating grit? Do you have a growth mindset? Are you optimistic? Be very clear about what kind of person you want to be. What kind of character traits do you want to feed and evolve? Which are the ones that you want to get rid of? Fixed mindset thinking, pessimism. Get rid of it. Don't need it. Not going to help you anywhere. And last, but definitely not least, probably most importantly, you need to take tangible action. Theory is great. Everything I shared today might be interesting for you. I hope some of it is interesting for you. There are a lot of things that can be very useful, but if you just think about them and you don't put them into practice, then it's just academic. There is no point to it. There's no learning from it. So please, if you just take one of these things that I shared today and make it reality over the course of the next week, then I know that my session today was useful, and that would make me very happy. I want to end the session with a video that I find incredibly inspiring and that summarizes everything that I have talked about today. Yes, Oscar Figueira, 8 years it took him, 8 years of training, 8 years of trying really hard, and 8 years that in the end led him to the Olympic gold. So a very inspiring and amazing story. That's the last thing I want to share for today. So happy to now go into the Q&A, Riri, or if you want to do in another order, that's perfectly fine as well. But yeah, that's my presentation for today, guys. I hope it was useful. I hope it was insightful, and happy to answer any kind of questions for tonight.
All right. Thank you so much, Patrick, for your presentation. All right, so let's just get straight to the Q&A session, yeah? First is from Monique. Do you have any tips on how to get back on track or get back to focus after receiving rejection?
Mm-hmm. I see that the question was a bit earlier, so I hope that I had, in the end, addressed it already. But look, I think the self-talk that you do after the rejection, so writing down how you're going to talk yourself after something doesn't work and how you are choosing to interpret this, I think that is something that can help a lot. And I mean, that's the number one thing I would recommend to try. So understand what is the kind of self-talk that you usually give yourself that makes you get off track when you get rejected, right? Understand what is it that, like, so you get a rejection, you get off track. Okay, so what is the self-talk I have? What is the self-talk I should have instead? I write that down, and next time I get rejected, I read this. It helps me to focus, helps me to get back on track. And yeah, the second thing can be performance triggers. Like there's a great book called Fanatical Prospecting, and one of the things that the author says is, what he always says is he has this this card, like this framed card on his desk, which says next. So whenever he gets rejected, he just looks at the card and reminds himself, you know what? There's always a next. Make the next call, make the next approach, and go for it. So try out different things. But for me, what I would recommend is write down the self-talk that you want to give to yourself. Maybe add a next card. Yeah. Okay. Second question is, hello, Patrick. When do we have to stop, and when do we have to keep going? Yeah, that's a very difficult question, because for me, I I never knew when to stop, unfortunately. So I'm not the best person to answer this. Jokes aside, I think that if you know why you're doing it, if you still feel that fire of why you're doing it and you still want this, that's when you should keep going. And if you feel that I don't really understand even why I'm doing it, what is this for, then maybe it's time to either reevaluate and understand again why you were doing it in the first place, or maybe it's time to stop and to switch to something else. I think most people stop too early. So I think most people should try a little bit harder and go for a bit longer before they switch to something else. But this is, at the end of the day, this is a question that only you can answer for yourself, unfortunately. And I don't have better advice on it, I think.
All right. So for the next question, this is from Sultan. When we are being optimistic and having a growth mindset, sometimes we have the intention to be naive. How to overcome this stuff?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the way that I understand the question is that maybe we fool ourselves too much into being very optimistic, and we keep pursuing something that is not going to succeed. So we keep chasing something that we will not be able to achieve in the first place. If you feel that you might have this issue, you can ask for a reality check through other people. So try to find that objective point of view for yourself, and like by trying to argue against whatever it is that you're thinking, or asking people around you, look, like, am I crazy? Is this okay? Should I keep going at it or not? Is it really, am I being too optimistic? But sometimes, you know, sometimes you will keep going anyways, even if other people will tell you no. So again, I'm not a very good advisor in that sense, because I unfortunately usually keep running for too long. But I think getting a reality check and you know, get people to tell you what they think about what you're doing, and also try to argue the other way around, you know, like for yourself, try to argue, why should I keep going? But also for yourself, force yourself to argue, why should I not keep going? And then try to come up with a good objective way of going forward.
Mm-hmm. Will it help if, let's say, we use the pro and cons list and such, and then if the pros is bigger than the cons, then just go ahead with that? Or how do you usually do that?
I think you can do so. Writing everything down makes a lot of sense. If it needs to be a full pro and con list, that depends on the person, I think. I think when you write everything down, it makes it clearer for you. When you talk to friends or others about it, it makes it clearer for you. But I think at the end of the day, you will always feel in your gut whether or not it's right for you. And for me personally, I always fall back to that at the end of the day. I will evaluate everything. I will look at everything to make sure that my gut makes an informed decision, but then my gut makes a decision. That's me personally. So something else might work better for you.
Okay. All right. So next question, how to be able to create approach again, engage, or even get them to at least try to be attracted to the product.
So I think the approach here is that you have tried to get to someone before through, let's say, LinkedIn or maybe through cold call or email, and they were not interested. But then you are actually able to meet them face to face at an event. And then how do we get them to engage? How do we get them interested in our product? For me, so this is actually, I mean, there is a whole course on this in the curriculum on networking and events. But the short form that I can share here already is that for me, events are not about selling your product. I never, barely ever pitched my product on at events. My goal when I meet people at events is to put a smile on their face, because that gives me later on the opportunity to meet them for a coffee or another meeting. People will connect with you if you connect with them. So I would ask questions, I would get to know them, have a casual chat with them, understand what they are like. Why are you doing at the event? What are you trying to get out of it? Tell me a bit more about what you do. That's interesting. Have a casual chat. I think people would, at least in technology sales, which is more complicated and needs a proper explanation of everything that you do, people don't really sell at events themselves, like on the spot right away. You would usually do it later on. I would focus on building a connection, learning about the potential client, learning about the prospect, what they care about, and then later on engage to see how I can help with the problems and the things that I've learned from them. Yeah, that's how I would go about it. People might have not been interested before, by the way, but they also have very short memories. Oftentimes when they have sent you an email before as I'm not interested, and you meet them, they oftentimes don't remember that they have sent you this email because maybe they were just busy at the time or whatever. So I would be very upfront about it. If they say something like, oh, I told you already I'm not interested, I would just make a joke. But I'm very persistent, and how can you know? So I think it's okay to just approach again.
All right. Next question is from Rianti. I think she asked how to deal with clients who keep comparing our products with others.
And sometimes they may be underestimating the offer. Yeah, so in most technology fields nowadays, there is quite a lot of competition, which is why technology sales is so important in the first place. If they compare your product to that of others, again, I would focus on understanding, all right, what are you trying to do? Put all the competitors aside. What are you trying to do? What are your challenges? What are you trying to achieve? And let me show you how my product solves this better than a competitor product. Over 70% of sales are made not because of product features or the platform functionality, but based on the salesperson. There are some cases where it's fully down to features and products, but in most cases, that's not the case. It's about building the trust with the prospect and establishing the trust, as well as showcasing the expertise that you are the one who really understands them, who can really make it happen for them for what they are trying to achieve. There are formal ways as well of creating competitor battle scorecards, of how to position yourself directly against a certain competitor, which I believe is also going to be covered in the curriculum. But the higher level answer I would give to this is, yeah, focus on, again, what it is that is specifically their problem.
Okay, next question. So she's a
sales rep. Very good, Risky. Yeah. Good to see that.
But she's been blocked by a potential customer and got some no's, right? So she's asking, when you feel that you are underperforming, how do you keep yourself positive? Based on your experience, how long does it take to adjust? And then from your point of view, would you rather maintain existing business relationship or focus on customer acquisition?
A lot of questions. Okay. So first of all, you're not alone. We all have been ghosted at some point. It's a numbers game, Risky. It's okay. A no leads to a yes eventually. So let me give you a virtual hug and a virtual high five. It's okay. that's okay. That happens. It's perfectly normal. When you have been blocked, you probably have been too aggressive. Has happened to me as well, unfortunately. But whenever that happens to me, I realize that I have focused too much on what I want and not enough on what they want. So I have not, unfortunately, focused on their value and their benefit because they feel I'm annoying them, right? So, but anyways, that aside, let me focus on your questions. When you feel that you're underperforming, how do you keep yourself positive? The self-talk that I mentioned earlier is something that, of course, helps a lot. So writing this down, being ready to, deal with the problem when it's happening. So if you already know what self-talk you're going to use when you are facing the rejection, you can go through it. You get back on track quicker. I think that's the first thing. For me personally, and this is something that just works for me, is I go running. So sports helps me. And by the way, that's why a lot of salespeople are very much into sports, because it really helps with mental toughness as well. So I very much recommend that too. For me personally, I go running. Maybe for you, it's a different sport, or maybe also not sport at all. Meditation works for other people. I mean, it depends on what works for you, I think. So that's how you can get yourself back on track, I would say. How long does it take for a new sales representative to adjust and do well at his or her job? That very much depends on a lot of different factors. If they already have experience, it's going to be much more about learning the new product and then seeing how well they fit in with this new product and how well they can explain it quickly. I have seen people that are able to perform after 2 weeks of onboarding, and I've seen people that have taken more than 3 months before they could get something done. That's a problem overall in the industry, and probably one of the main reasons why the Review Sales and Tech Sales course has been created in the first place, because there is no proper education on sales out there. Most people, until today, they have been in sales for a decade or so, and they do not know the things that we have taught in this mini course over the course of this week. So it can really vary a lot. I believe with a good onboarding, it should be possible to get people onboarded within about a month's time. But then until they perform, it takes longer, because there's a lot of learning involved and much more. So it can take people a year or so to finally get into their groove, but really depends. All right. From your point of view, which view? Let me check here. Sorry. From your point of view, would you rather maintain existing business relationships or focus on customer acquisition? This depends on the business situation at the moment. So you always need both, to be honest. You need to make sure that your existing customers stay your customers, that they talk well about you, because word of mouth is incredibly powerful in B2B. If your customers are unhappy with you, then they will talk badly about you and others will not buy from you anymore. So focusing on existing customer relationships is very important. New customers are important for you to grow. So if you don't get new customers, you don't grow. And then your business will remain where it is. So depending on the stage of the company, you'll be focusing more on one than the other. Usually it's also two different types of salespeople that are taking care of those, right? So you have some that are focusing on the existing business and accounts, and some that are focusing on new customer acquisition. But it depends, different across different companies. So there's no clear-cut answer. Early on in your business, you want to focus on new customers. Usually later on, you focus about 50-50. So yeah, it depends.
Okay.
Hang in there, Risky.
Hey, everybody's jealous of Risky because of the virtual hug. Risky, thank you for the virtual hug, Patrick. Say Risky.
One virtual hug for everybody, guys.
Yay! For everybody who comes tonight, yeah?
Of course. Yes. Consider yourself hugged. Yoga, positive affirmations every day. Yes, very good stuff as well, Risky. Very good, yeah.
All right. I think this is the last question, yeah.
Okay.
Or second last question. So from Linda, hi Patrick, thanks for the emotionally burning mindset effect. I want to ask if you have ever felt a situation that made you want to give up. So how do you convince yourself to keep a positive mindset? Because you shared that you never give up, right? Have you ever? So Linda is asking again about it.
All the time. It happens a lot for sure, because it's tough. It's not easy. So I think if we try to do extraordinary things, and if we want to push ourselves, we push ourselves to the limit where we want to give up. That happens. Yeah. What I
Can you
do.
give us a specific cases, probably, like an example about this situation?
I mean, let's say, for example, that one of the great people in your team has received a great offer and is going to leave the company. That's painful because now, like somebody else needs to fill in. I need to find someone else. Or let's say that the deal that you've been working on so hard that would have really made all the difference for the company in this quarter is not coming through, and suddenly it's failed. And this can be tough. Makes you feel like, oh my God, yes, I'm beat down now. And it can be difficult to force yourself to keep going. There can be personal challenges, right? Let's say something with your partner happened or in the family, and that can also really push you down. That feel like, whoa, I don't know how to continue now. And I've faced many such situations, and I think it's part of life. So this will always happen. It always depends on what you then do when you are in this kind of situation, right? So for me, as I mentioned earlier, I believe that so if it's a minor a minor issue, I go running. Running fixes a lot of things for me personally. But talking to other people that are in similar situations, talking to people that talking to people that are good friends, so that you can open up to them and get that support. I think that that always helps a lot. And also just reviewing again, what have I done in the past? How bad is the situation really if I look at it objectively? And what am I doing it for? Okay, let's pick ourselves up again and let's go. Yeah, I think those are the key things. At the end of the day, this is something that you need to try out a bit for yourself. I think, see what works for you. Maybe meditation, maybe yoga, maybe running, maybe reading a particular book, maybe watching a certain video, watching The Last Dance. The Michael Jordan story is fantastic. That always gives me a lot of energy as well. A lot of things that you can do to get your mindset to a positive frame again. But one thing I maybe want to highlight as well is that sometimes you're down, and that's okay. Sometimes it's okay to be down. That's perfectly okay. Like sometimes you just need some time off. Maybe you just need to take a few days, and that's okay. But what you can keep in mind is that the time that you are taking off that's just recharging your batteries, and that's perfectly fine. That's okay. And then you can go out there again and go full energy, full throttle, and keep pushing. So yeah, I hope that's useful. I hope that's I think I shared everything I think in the presentation that I think can be useful for this. So I hope that that's useful too. But yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you Patrick for your explanation tonight. So, gimana nih teman-teman sesi malam hari ini sama Patrick? Pastinya kalian udah pada dapat banyak insight-insight baru ya dari penjelasan Patrick tadi. Oke, kalau gitu, Patrick, before I close this session, do you have any last word to say to the participant?
No, I think, guys. So as I said, please take one or two of the concepts, see how you can apply it next week, and make it relevant for you. Other than this, thank you very much for your attention. Keep growing, keep selling, and a big virtual hug. And then we'll catch up again sometime soon, I hope.
All right, thank you very much, Patrick, for the sharing session tonight. So, see you next time. Bye. Nah, gimana nih teman-teman? Sesi hari ini bareng Patrick. Seru banget ya, kalian bisa tahu banyak nih dari Psychology of Successful Sales. Nah, kali ini aku mau ngingetin lagi ke kalian tentang assignment mini course. Jadi kalian tetap stay tune terus ya untuk tahu penjelasan dari assignment ini. Nah, seperti yang kalian tahu, di mini course ini ada 2 assignment ya teman-teman, ada certification test dan juga ada case study. Untuk certification test ini berisi 20 soal certification test pilihan ganda yang berkaitan dengan materi mini course. Kemudian, tugas ini adalah wajib dikerjakan dan wajib lulus untuk teman-teman yang mau mendapatkan sertifikat digitalnya. Dan jangan lupa untuk hadir setiap harinya dan jangan lupa absen karena kehadiran kalian akan mempengaruhi sertifikat. Kemudian, untuk key answer-nya tidak akan kami bagikan ya teman-teman. Untuk deadline-nya sendiri di hari Jumat jam 12 malam. Kemudian ada juga tugas case study. Case study ini adalah tugas praktikal untuk mengasah skill kalian di bidang BizDev atau Sales Intake ini. Dan kunci jawabannya hanya akan kami berikan ke teman-teman yang mengerjakan tugas ini saja. Nah, kalau kalian mau mengasah skill ini ya, skill di bidang business development atau Sales Intake ini, saran aku bisa dikerjain aja. Nanti kalian juga bisa dapat kunci jawabannya. Dan kalian bisa belajar deh dari kunci jawaban yang udah kita kasih. Kemudian tugas ini adalah opsional dan tidak akan mempengaruhi certification test kalian. Untuk deadline-nya sendiri ada di hari Sabtu jam 12 siang. Jadi lebih lama ya teman-teman untuk deadline case study-nya. Nah ini untuk teman-teman yang udah ngerjain certification test-nya. Jadi untuk kalian yang udah ngerjain, pengumuman lulus atau tidaknya akan kami beritahukan di H+1 di hari kerja. Nah, khusus untuk kalian yang ngerjain dan ngumpulin certification test-nya di hari Jumat, pengumumannya akan kami beritahukan di hari Senin. Sekaligus dengan key answer dari case study-nya ya, teman-teman akan kami kirimkan juga di hari Senin. Nah, buat kalian yang lulus, kami akan memberitahukan pengumumannya melalui email, sekaligus ada undangan langsung untuk bergabung di program kita. Tapi untuk teman-teman yang udah nggak sabar nih untuk daftar di full program kita, bisa langsung daftar di link yang ini ya teman-teman, karena slotnya terbatas. Jadi saran aku kalau kalian tertarik bisa langsung daftar aja, karena registrasinya gratis dan akan ada proses admisinya untuk bantu tahu kecocokan kalian di bidang ini. Oke, ini untuk besok. Ada apa sih besok kita? Ada career session, tentunya sesi yang paling kalian tunggu-tunggu nih di mini course ini. Dan jangan lupa hadir karena kehadiran akan mempengaruhi sertifikasi kalian. Oke, segitu aja dari aku. Thank you ya teman-teman yang udah join di malam hari ini. Semoga kalian bisa dapat insight baru ya. Dan see you tomorrow guys. Bye.